Most people would like to reduce their carbon footprint. What difference would it make if they changed to a vegetarian or vegan diet?
A very big difference, Ben. Big difference. You see, one 6-ounce beefsteak costs 16 times as much gasoline or fossil fuel energy as one vegan meal. You know, 1 cup of broccoli, 1 cup of eggplants, 4 ounces of cauliflower, and 8 ounces of rice, to be exact, according to research. 16 times. 6-ounce beefsteak only costs 16 times more than that whole vegan meal. Now, many scientists would thus describe meat as being hugely carbon intensive, including Dr. Pachauri, the chief of IPCC. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. If all the people in the world became vegan, we would eliminate at least 50% of greenhouse gas emission. 50%, Ben, greenhouse gas emission. But I know it's more than that. Karmically speaking as well, it would be significantly more than removing all the world's transportation, which is only 13.5%.
Really?
Yeah. So if we are vegan, we don't even need to worry about the CO2 yet. We do worry it's better to have a cleaner air, but CO2 by transportation and all that is not the grave urgency like methane gas and nitrous oxide and all the gases that produce out of animal industry. For my calculation, for my inside knowledge, and also scientifically speaking, 80% of global warming will be stopped if we stopped the animal industry. Okay. The well-known study by Escher and Martin at the University of Chicago found that being vegan saves more in emission than switching to a hybrid car. Scientists from Japan calculated that not eating 1 kilogram of beef saves the equivalent of driving an average European car for 250 kilometers. Can you imagine 1 kilogram of beef equivalent to driving 250 kilometers and burning 100-watt light bulbs for 20 days non-stop? So we should know where our problem lies. Now, a study by the Institute for Ecological Economy Research in Germany found that emissions from an animal-free vegan diet are 87% less than those of meat-based diet, while emissions from an organic vegan diet are reduced by 94%. You see? Again, as the top climatologist Dr. James Hansen said, being veg is the single most effective thing a person can do to stop global warming. Yeah, that's without government, even without ado, without protocol, without any trouble. If the goal is to be a truly carbon-free society, we should consider all the major sources of greenhouse gases emissions. You see, we are emitting greenhouse gases not just through the fumes from factories, houses, and cars, but also through the products that we choose to consume. Besides, CO2 is cancelled out by aerosols, which are released at the same time from burning fossil fuels. So, it means that even though we have CO2, but the CO2 also have been cancelled out by the aerosols at the same time. Even though aerosols are very detrimental to our health, they actually have a cooling effect that cancels out the CO2 heat in the atmosphere. So up to now, the climate warming heat is not from CO2. Is not from CO2. The warming climate problem is not from CO2. It's not from carbon dioxide. I repeat, it's not from carbon dioxide. It is from other sources, mainly methane. At least 50% of total greenhouse gas emissions are coming from animal meat and dairy products. And it's not I who said this. It's all proven, researched, confirmed, and published by the top scientists of the whole world. If we only focus on the green energies, like solar panel, wind power, etc., it won't have much of an effect. I am so sorry to say. I have to tell you the truth, because this is also my planet. Your island could be my residence in any time in the future. I might love your island, I might want to go there. So, I want to protect your island. I want to protect my planet. So I have to tell you everything. Although I might offend somebody or I might not be very popular for doing this, but I have to tell you the truth. Because green energies is not an urgent task for us to handle right now. Because green energy only tackle the effect of maybe aerosol or CO2, which is not the urgent issue of global warming, the producer. The global warming effect comes from rising livestock, from animals. So if we continue on the green energy, then we don't have much an effect to stop global warming, because the effectiveness will be cancelled out by the large amounts of greenhouse gases that we generate by consuming meat and the meat industry. Besides the livestock methane, that is responsible for the portion of the 50% of greenhouse gas emissions. But 50% is still a low estimate. I would say 80%. There is also the burning of forests to make pasture land to grow food for the animals, and making the chemical fertilizer and pollution to grow the feed, the transportation involved, the constant refrigeration involved, etc., etc. And all the medical effect or the cause of the sickness of the people. Billions, trillions of dollars goes into the treatment of the people for meat-related disease. And it's not always even effective. It's not always even cure people permanently or perfectly even. Even we spend so much money and people have to go so much suffering, the disease are not always completely cured. In many cases, not at all. So people suffer, people die for nothing also because of meat diet. So to produce the meat for consumption, it costs us too much. It costs sorrow, it costs suffering, it costs trillions of dollars. All these add up to many more times greenhouse gas emissions than all the world's transportation combined. And apparently more than all the heavy industries and fossil fuel power stations combined even. So in order to call ourselves a low carbon or carbon-free society, we must eliminate our meat consumption, because that is the number one cause. We could say that is the only cause for our climate change. That is our meat consumption. This is in line with the recommendation of the world's leading climate experts, like chair of the IPCC, Dr. Pachauri, who is a vegetarian himself for the environment's sake. In fact, if we focus on shifting people to be vegetarian or vegan, it will save us much more money than green technology, and of course it's much more effective. And I urge you, the government leaders, because our time is running out, we have to act on this now. Please explain to your co-citizens this important truth and tell them we must work together to become animal-free consumers. We have a very short time to save our planet. We have a great planet to save. We have great precious treasure that is our children to save. And besides, the government and the people have nothing to lose by being vegan. For the environment, the absence of livestock will bring about much less pollution and less waste of water and food resources. For the citizens, there are perfect, nutritious, delicious alternatives to animal products nowadays. And, as we heard in the doctor's lectures, the vegan diet is also the best for our children. It's a win-win solution, as stated by Dr. Pachauri, and necessary to save the planet. Saving the world's tropical forest, the lungs of the earth, is one of the very important priorities. Because when the tropical rainforests are destroyed, there are many frightening side effects. It's not just the permanent changes to the world's temperature, rainfall, and weather patterns which the forests regulate. It's not just about the millions of people who might lose their livelihoods that depend on the forest. There is more to it than that. There is the extinction of plants and animal species that is 100 times faster than what is natural, and it ruins our ecosystems. And there's also the rainforests themselves. This is important. The rainforests themselves normally is our protectors. But as the climate gets warmer, instead of absorbing CO2 to protect our planet climate, they will be emitting back CO2 as well, and that will be harmful to us. By harming the rainforest, by destroying the planet, by raising animals, we are turning our protector, which is the rainforest, into a harmful agent. They will not be helping us, the rainforest. They will not be helping us if the climate gets warmer. But instead, they will be worsening the global warming problem because they cannot absorb the CO2, but they will release all the CO2 that is already contained in their kingdom. Now, we need to look at the main reason why there is deforestation. Yes, we all know there is a whole industry behind it in most of the cases, namely the livestock industry. For example, 91% of the Amazon deforested since 1970 was used for what? For grazing pasture, meaning that the number one reason for deforestation of the Amazon, which is the greatest lung of our planet, is to raise cattle. And the second biggest reason, also for cattle. They grow the soil to feed the cattle, and of course other animals as well. By the way, yes, NASA reported that once the forest is cleared for pasture or feed crops, the soil itself becomes a large source of emitting carbon. The soil itself even. So not only that, the fires that burn down the trees also release a lot of carbon dioxide, CO2. The Amazon rainforest alone contains more carbon dioxide than 10 years' worth of all human-produced greenhouse gases. Plus, when we burn the forest, we release black carbon, which are particles of soot that trap 680 times the heat of the same amount of CO2. Now, blame whom? Don't bother blaming CO2. Especially because they are black. You know, these soot from the burnt black rainforest, they hold a lot of heat. According to researchers in Brazil, 60% of the black carbon measured at the Antarctic Peninsula came from burning the rainforest in Brazil for livestock raising. So we have to put the blame, the finger on the right spot. Yeah? I hope the leaders understand where to put their finger, not just talking around the subject and try to avoid the burning spot, which is livestock raising, which is animal production.
Some of the diseases related to meat consumption and/or production: rabies, anthrax, sleeping sickness, Q fever, norovirus, swine flu, Ebola reston virus. Cured meats and fish increase leukemia risk in children. Antibiotic-resistant superbug infections from a strain of Staphylococcus aureus. Blue tongue disease, E. coli, salmonella. Bird flu, mad cow disease or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, 90% of the population at risk. Pig's disease or PMWS, listeriosis, shellfish poisoning, pre-eclampsia, Campylobacter, Clostridium difficile, diseases hidden in healthy appearing livestock. Some of the costs of meat eating. Infertility. Eating just one serving of meat per day increases the risk of women's infertility by 32%, with additional meat consumption increasing the risk. Heart disease. Over 17 million lives lost globally each year. Cost of cardiovascular disease is at least $1 trillion a year. Cancer. Increased childhood cancers and adult reproductive cancers from hormones in meat. Colon rectal cancer. Over 1 million new colon cancer patients diagnosed each year, more than 600,000 colon cancer-related mortalities annually. In the United States alone, colon cancer treatment costs about $6.5 billion. Millions of people are newly diagnosed with other meat-related cancers every year.
Diabetes. 246 million people are affected worldwide. An estimated $174 billion spent each year on treatment in just the United States. Obesity. Worldwide, 1.6 billion adults are overweight, with 400 million more who are obese. Costs $93 billion each year for medical expenses in the United States alone. At least 2.6 million people die annually from problems related to being overweight or obese. Environmental. Uses up to 70% of clean water. Pollutes most of the water bodies. Deforests the lungs of the earth. Uses up to 43% of the world's cereal. Uses up to 85% of the world's soy. Causes world hunger and wars. 80% cause of global warming. Plus more.
Some of the costs of milk consumption. Cowpox from milking cows. Bacterial microbes, pesticides and enzymes found in cheese derived from the inner stomach linings of other animals. Up to 80% of the calories in cheese are from pure fat. Breast, prostate and testicular cancer from hormones present in milk. Hysteria and Crohn's disease. Hormones and saturated fat leads to osteoporosis, obesity, diabetes and heart disease. Linked to higher incidences of multiple sclerosis. Classified as a major allergen. Lactose intolerance. Plus more.
For help quitting, please visit. For more urgent information, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/killers.
It's been a pleasure to have your company for today's episode of Between Master and Disciples. Part 3 of The True Solution for a Carbon-Free Society will continue next Friday. Up next is Animal World, Our Co-Inhabitants, right after noteworthy news here on Supreme Master Television. Please stay tuned. May heavens bless you with much love and light.
Supreme Master Ching Hai's lectures are not a complete meditation instruction. Please do not try alone. For free of charge guidance, please visit www.godsdirectcontact.org or contact any of our centers near you.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/BMD.